Welcome. My name is Nicola. I am an energy curious explorer. I am super passionate about investigating the true nature and mechanics of energy and consciousness and how that can help me, you, be empowered to free ourselves from the limitations of our physical, emotional, and mental aspects. And this week's topic, which I love as a topic of exploration, is all about intuition. And thank you so much for your questions. There were loads of people who were really interested in working out what exactly is intuition and how do I know if my intuition is talking to me or it's just my mind? And quite a few of you felt you were a little bit confused, as I definitely resonate with that. And this is about unpacking exactly what intuition is from an energetic perspective. What can we do to enhance our intuitive abilities, and how to aspire to living an intuitive life? Because actually cultivating this level of self-awareness, which is what intuition really is, giving space for that self-awareness, is a magical place to be. So let's dive in. As I said, I want to just give you an overview of exactly what is intuition. I'll answer some questions along the way, and a lot of you had general questions about what it is and how can I tell the difference between, is this intuition or is this my mind? So actually I'm answering these by the aspects that I'm covering here, and then there's a couple of specific questions which I will address directly as well. So firstly, let's understand what exactly is intuition. Great question. I think people use it a lot and it can crop up, use that word a lot, and I think people can use phrases like, I had this gut feeling, or I just knew I had to quit that job, leave that town, something like that. I definitely had that when I knew I had to quit my job. It just kind of like came in a flash. It was like, right, this has to happen. 10 years ago, when I started my journey with energy medicine. So what is intuition? Let's define that. It's knowing without knowing how you know. You just know. And we'll talk about different ways that can pop up for you. And where does this knowing without knowing how you know come from? Well, if we put on our energy glasses and let's see ourselves through the lens of energy. And for those of you who are watching for the first time, I just want to explain exactly what I mean by that. And for those of you that have tuned into a few Q&As, you might realize this is something that is a foundational aspect of understanding yourself as a vibrational coalescence of energy. So let's put on our energy glasses, see ourselves through the lens of energy, see everything through the lens of energy, whether it is physical matter is an illusion, and by illusion I do not mean it isn't real, it's just not what it appears under closer investigation. Atoms, the particles that make up atoms, are more space than matter. And so whether it is the physical aspects of our world or the air or the space in between, if we put on our energy glasses, what would actually be revealed is this coalescence of energy, interconnected, infinitely connected, a vibration of different rates of energy, different frequencies of energy that is completely connected. Whether that's the electrical beat of your heart creating an electromagnetic field several feet away from your body. You can't necessarily see that with your eyes, but that is constantly sending and receiving information. So that's the landscape in which we're working to see yourself, your body, the energy field that surrounds you, and everything in your world and the universe as a vast interconnected matrix and vibration of energy which holds information. When we see the world through that lens, through that perspective, then intuition is something that can arise from inside of ourselves, information coming from the depths of our subconscious vibration that is held in and around our body. The subconscious, that iceberg, the top of the iceberg, the conscious mind, the vast majority of the depths under the water is what is actually running the show, the subconscious vibration holding information in your body and energy field. So intuition coming from inside of ourselves, revealing, just as the stillness of a pond will allow a bubble to rise up, and then also coming from outside of ourselves. We know, looking at ourselves through the lens of energy, that we are a vast interconnected web. Therefore, information can travel to be received by us from a different level of vibration. Just like I always like to say to people, do you believe in mobile phones? And they look at me slightly weirdly and go, yeah. So if you believe in mobile phones, you can absolutely believe that information can travel through a wave of energy or vibration from a vast distance. You can receive a phone call from Australia, America, I'm in Europe. How does that reach you? It is, of course, a human mechanical construction of connection, but ultimately, that voice data that is being received by the receiver of your mobile phone, which is also an antenna, voice data travels on a radio wave and is transmitted into information that is able to be registered by us through our ears. Can travel at great distances instantaneously. Maybe there's a little bit of a delay. I think we've all had that on a Zoom call or on a telephone call from far away. But essentially, we are the most sophisticated antenna and receiver. And so if we open our perspective and raise our consciousness to allow ourselves to, for example, I love to set the intention that I call on my higher self, an aspect of me that is connected beyond the slightly muddy waters of emotion and mental thought processes. I call on my higher self, that aspect of energy that is free from the limitations of duality. I call on my higher self to bring me guidance that serves my highest good now. And asking that question of my intuition, knowing that information can tune in to that, whether it's from inside of yourself, your subconscious, or outside of yourself, that comes to my point about how can you activate your intuition? Well, definitely asking questions is a really good way to do that. And you are utilizing yourself as the receiver. Think of yourself like a receiver. You are a receiver which can receive information from your intuition in any way. Maybe a word will pop into your mind. Maybe it is hearing something or seeing something. Maybe it is feeling something, like feeling yes or no. And I'm going to get onto intuition and emotions in a minute, because Tanya, you've got a great question about this. So I want you to hold yourself in mind that you are the receiver, and your intuition is communicating with you all the time through all of your senses. but it is soft and subtle. And it may be that we have not allowed space or know how to listen to it or what to listen for. So I'm going to explain a few key differences. And Tanya, this is a great question. You said, how can I distinguish between intuition and just fear? For example, in a particular situation, I'm afraid that my loved ones might get hurt or killed. Is that intuition or fear? And this will answer this question unequivocally for you. Real intuitive hits or real intuitive guidance is absolutely non-emotional. So when I say you can get a feeling that it's like yes or no, that's kind of a feeling of confirmation, or yes, that's right for me, or no, that's not right for me. That's kind of a feeling. But when we're specifically talking about emotions like fear or even excitement, real intuition is absolutely non-emotional. It's beyond the duality of emotions, and so it's non-judgmental. It's short and to the point. So for example, you've mentioned in a particular situation, I'm afraid that my loved ones might get hurt or killed. I've spoken to people who have real examples of when their intuition has given them guidance to move away from a certain situation, like driving on the motorway and something goes, move behind that green car, or on a train, move into the next carriage. Something inside of you just like goes, I need to move, go. And the way that that would come, if it is in an aspect of real danger, it would be really short, to the point, and absolutely non-emotional. It's a directive. It is not based in any level of emotion. So to answer your question, that's absolutely fear. And that may be, for example, that you have a trapped emotion, or there is a belief that is held in place which is not allowing you to feel safe about your loved ones going about their life. So that is it is very real for you, but that's definitely not your intuition, and that might be something you would like to work on to release some trapped emotions and recalibrate a subconscious belief which is causing that I am not feeling safe on behalf of my loved ones. So I hope that answers your question, Tanya. And to go back to real intuition being non-emotional, I think that's a really, really valid point. I would say if that's the one thing you connect to in this whole video, that is a super important one. So there's no ego involved. It's never going to be you're stupid or you're the greatest. It's not like that. It's simply directive. And it's coming from a realm of energy, which could be your subconscious or outside of yourself, that is not really dealing in linear mind and thought patterns, although it can use the mind as a receiver to send like, go here, stop now, do this. It uses symbols and signs in the external world. And I don't know if you ever feel tuned in to suddenly walking past a billboard or opening a magazine, or to be honest, I think sometimes my intuition definitely uses Google to get my attention. You know, you can have been looking for something that you're looking to connect with, or someone that is just not coming up. You know, you're looking for a particular teacher of something and you just can't connect with them, and then suddenly you leave it for 6 months, and then you look again and it suddenly comes up immediately. So something has changed in terms of the frequency of connection. So using symbols and signs in the external world, look out for signs that resonate with you. When I was in my biggest place of imbalance about 10 years ago, and I wasn't sure what to do, and then suddenly in the January of 2011, or I think it was in the December, because in January I ended up going to the Amazon, I was at a few different sort of Christmas parties. It was December, it was the party season in London, and this conversation kept cropping up. I had it like 3 times where people were mentioning ayahuasca as a medicinal plant medicine used by Amazon tribes. I had never heard anyone mention it before. And suddenly, in 3 different places, people had a conversation. I walked past some people, I heard it again. Then I opened a National Geographic magazine, and there was a whole article about different tribes of the Amazon using this medicinal plant medicine as an aspect of consciousness and epigenetic neurogenesis, which means changing your nervous system through an environmental stimulus. So I was like, right, I have no idea, but I am going with that. This is not logical, but I am booking a flight to the Amazon jungle. And I booked a flight, went on my own, and was like, right, I'm taking the sign. And I was definitely not someone who considered myself an intuitive person or someone who'd followed my intuition. I was very logical and based in, formal intellect. So pay attention. Your intuition is short, to the point, it's directive, it comes in symbols and signs, it can be little pieces of messages that may not make sense to you. It's not going to come out with a long-winded sentence to give you something from A to Z in a linear fashion in the way that our mind does. And so real intuitive messages are quite fleeting and subtle, because it's coming from a different aspect of your energy. And I think a lot of us can identify with our mind, as in our thoughts, being totally running the show and out of control. I definitely feel like that's the case for me. So as I said, if something's long-winded and wordy, then it's probably not an intuitive message. It would be, do this instead, try this action, don't worry about this. And I'll give you a real life example of how intuition is guiding someone from a symbol showing up in the external world. So this woman was driving down a dark country road, and it was really stormy and very foggy. And she came to a stop sign that was red, and you can just see it through the fog and the lashing rain, and it stayed red for absolutely ages. And she thought, that's weird, what's going on? But something told her that she shouldn't just drive through it, and she was like, okay. And she got out and looked and walked a bit further on, and she saw that the storm had actually washed the bridge away. And so that's a way that her intuitive senses are picking up that something's not quite right in this instance. I'm not just going to think, oh, that's broken, and drive straight through it. So that's an example how your intuition can give you guidance in the external world. Pay attention. Go with there's the sign. Is this making me pause? Shall I investigate before ignoring it? So Celine, you're asking, hello my darling, how to know the difference for sure between real guidance from the heart and one from the mind. And I hope what I've explained already is kind of given you an insight into that. Just saying that, yeah, it's a different style of communication. And if it's anything to do with based in emotional worry or fear, that's definitely your mind. And this is when it can be super helpful if we see ourselves as the receiver. You can receive intuitive guidance from any of your senses. That's when it can be super helpful to use energy medicine tools and techniques to release stress from your system or align your energy fields. Because if you are a coherent, geometrically aligned energy field, it is going to be an awful lot easier to receive aligned intuition. If you are looking to manifest in this world, to bring into physical reality something from your imagination, that mechanics of energy connection has to come from that fine realm of imagination. Make that connection and come into your physical reality. To do that in an aligned way means Are your energy fields aligned? Are you doing an energy practice which takes the stress out of the tank and brings a cohesion into your energy fields? And I would say the Focus and Calm mini masterclass, I've got the free masterclass, is a great way to bring that daily practice in. It will make you a more expanded receiver. It will give you more space excuse me, to tune into those subtle and fleeting messages. And another question that I've been asked quite a few times is, how do I actually receive intuition? How do I do it? How do I actually connect to it? And that's a great question. And Galen, thank you. You were saying, as a musician, you feel that that's one thing that guides you in an industry which can be potentially very unpredictable. It's that gut feeling of like, yeah, this is right for me. This is what I need to do. So I totally appreciate that. So how to receive intuition? Intuition is always communicating with you because you are a feeling, thinking, seeing, sensing human. So it's subtle, it's soft, it's fleeting, it's just something that might be a repetition that you see. And I invite you to cue a sense of openness. And openness from an energetic perspective means making sure releasing stress out of your system, allowing the mind to calm down, using the neurovascular points. And if you're not familiar with those, I'll drop the link to the Focus and Calm masterclass where you can have an understanding of what those do. They're super powerful, absolutely something I use basically every day. And it can be super helpful to release stress from your energy. And I will put a link to my free mini Focus and Calm masterclass. The neurovascular points in this particular masterclass are invaluable, because if we're full up with stress and our mind, our thought patterns are so noisy and busy, it can make it challenging for us to be connected and allow space for those intuitive hits, which are soft, subtle, and fleeting. And I would say, ask questions. Be open to receive answers. Ask the question and then just completely set a sense of openness. And I like to set the intent that I call on my higher self to bring me guidance about living a life of love and purpose. And then I am cueing that to show up internally and externally with the people, places and things that I connect to. So I hope that gives you some insight into the fascinating energy mechanics of intuition. I would love to know, have you had any personal experience of intuition? Anything that has set you on a completely different path in life? Maybe you've met someone and you just knew that you were supposed to be in business together, or you were supposed to be romantically together, or as Galen said, he just knew with the music industry that is something that guides him in that profession. So I would love to hear from you, and thank you so much for your questions. I will see you soon. Bye.